Okay, this would hopefully be the final video in the series of transformations. It's looking at the slightly more complicated transformation of enlargements. I guess the reason it's more complicated is because in the previous shapes, the images were exactly the same shape, they just changed orientation perhaps. But in enlargements, the size of the shapes changes. Okay, with enlargements, you need a centre of enlargement, and you need a scale factor. Okay, so I'm going to try and conjure up some sort of metaphor to help you visualize the centre of enlargement and scale factors. Now, I like to think of the centre of enlargement as like a light source, or maybe a torch that's shining on the object. So maybe, yeah, a torch projecting a shadow, for example. The scale factor, so if we look at a quick example, a scale factor of 3 would mean the image, or the shadow, is 3 times further from the torch, or the centre of enlargement. So we shine the torch on the object, and that image will be 3 times further from the torch than the original shape. Hopefully that will become clear when we do an example. It also means that the image is 3 times larger than the original object. Okay, so let's look at an example. Let's draw this little house, A, and we're going to enlarge A by a scale factor 3 about the 0.11. Okay, so about 1,1. 1,1 here will be the centre of enlargement. And the scale factor 3, well, we've talked about that already. Okay, so I'm going to put a cross where that 0.11 is. Now notice how I've labelled 1,1 the torch. And just to try and bring this metaphor into your mind's eye more clearly, let's draw a little torch there, shining light on this house shape. Okay. So if you did this in shell, I think, and so if you remember, you're going to kind of project lines from the centre of enlargement at A, and I'm going to think of these as rays of light. Okay, so this might be our first ray of light through that corner of A. Now it's good to put crosses at some of the corners here. Okay, so how far is this light going to travel? Well, if you think about it, it's got a scale factor 3, and that means that the image will be 3 times further away from the torch. Whew. So, how far I've drawn that torch line, that light ray, is how far that cross will end up. Okay? You can think about it. If I draw this one green line here, that's one green line away from the torch. So the new image, the new cross, that grey cross there, will be 3 green lines away. 1, 2, 3. Because it's 3 times further from the torch. You could also think about it by drawing a little triangle just there. That triangle is 2 across and 1 up. So the new triangle will be 3 times further from the torch. So where it was 2 across, it will be now 6 across, and where it was 1 up, it will now be 3 up. Okay, that's just another way to think about the same idea. Okay, let's do another one here. So we have this corner of the house that is 2 across and 2 up, or one of those orange lines away. So it's going to be 3 times further away. So if it was 2 across and 2 up, it will now be 6 across and 6 up. Okay, so that is the new corner of the house. Right, if we look at the next corner here, and we draw this sort of light ray, and we continue it through, and it will be 3 times further away, so it'll end there. Now, I think it's difficult in these situations to be completely accurate, and often people, by not being accurate, will draw the image in the wrong place. So I think these triangles are a really good way to work out where the new corners will go. So the original corner, if you look at that little pink line I've drawn, it's 4 across and 1 up. So if it's 3 times further away, it will move to 12 across and 3 up. Okay, once you've drawn a few of these corners, you don't really need to draw any more, because we know the image will be 3 times larger than the original object. So if we look at that base length, for example, that base length in the original house was just 2 squares across. So in the new house, it's going to be 6 squares across. Just there. And if you look at the side length of the house, that was 1 square up originally. It's now going to be 3 squares up. Okay? The far side is also going to be 3 squares up. And the angles don't really change, so the roof is still going to be tilted at 45 degree, and where it was 1 diagonal line across, it will now be 3 diagonal lines, and then the equivalent on the other side. So this is going to be my shadow, the image that was projected from the center of enlargement. Okay, so just some things to think about, which we won't go into this video, but hopefully we'll go into in lessons perhaps, is, so if we've looked at the enlargement from A to A prime, what would be the enlargement or the transformation from A prime to A? What would be the reverse enlargement, as it were? Other questions: what does an enlargement by scale factor 1 do? What would a negative scale factor of enlargement look like? Just some things to think about. Okay, thanks for watching.